All right, gang, welcome to Fundamentals of Programming. By the way, you will actually learn how to program. It's not just a theory class. Some people have taught this class without ever having people actually write any programs. Instead, you draw pseudocode or write pseudocode and do flowcharts and stuff like that. I think that students enjoy it more if they actually get to write programs, right? And since the programming language of choice is going to be primarily Python, that'll set you up if you're going to go on and take scripting. And scripting is very important. The scripting class is like one of the keystones on the way towards one of the cybersecurity degrees, for example. Python is not a toy language. It's not, just an educational language. Like there were languages like Pascal that were invented so that in the 80s all the colleges taught with Pascal, and then you graduated and you never used Pascal, right? No, lots and lots and lots of people use Python. If you're looking at job listings, Python is a very, very popular language. Whenever you see the shots from the NASA spacecraft, flying past Jupiter or whatever, all of that data was probably processed with Python. The NASA programmers use it an awful lot. So it is a very good language, but the reason that it is chosen to teach a lot is because the syntax of it is pretty clear. Right? I'm going to break my own computer in. So in lieu of not having Python installed on the machine at this moment, I'd be really curious if it is for y'all, if somebody who's logged in could type in idle, ideally.
I've got it on mine right here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. If somebody could type in idle and see if it actually loads up anything, that would be useful information for me.
Not on this one.
Alrighty.
But you're on this. I have it on my laptop.
Sure.
So do I.
Something on this one.
And I may be bringing my laptop as well. So anyways, you can type in online Python into Google and just pick one of them. It doesn't really matter which one. And you'll get an online Python editor. Right. So to print out hello world in this language just takes one line of code. Whereas if you were going to do it in Java, for example, not a common programming language, also common in education, as well as in the real world. Then it looks like this, right? Considerably more stuff on the screen just to get a print out, right? You have to wrap everything inside a class. You have to wrap whatever code you're in is inside a method, which is a function that's attached to a class. And then you have to have a print statement, except instead of just saying print, it's got the name of a library and an object. Okay, so anyways, the syntax is a lot cleaner.
Got it.
So there it is. There I am saying hello world. And to get to that, all I did was type in online Python. Now the drawback to doing it online, I mean, this is great. You can do Python programming from your phone, right? Just by going to a website like this. But how do you save your stuff, right? How do you save your stuff? Some of these sites let you create an account and save, your code to the account or whatever. Otherwise, you got to copy your work and save it on your computer, right? Whether you save it in Word, probably not ideal, or Notepad, or if you're on a Mac, there are text editing programs, So feel free to bring your own laptop. Absolutely feel free to bring your own laptop, because then you're not at the mercy of what's been installed and configured. You don't have to type along with the code that I'm going to type in during the lectures. However, a lot of students find it beneficial to try to type along. And in the past, when we were not so much worried about social distancing, what I would do is I would, every 15, 20 minutes, I would say, okay, does anybody need help with your program? And then I would come back and I would help. And if you want help, I'll still be glad to do that. I'll wear my mask, come back there and look at your code and give you help with it. But like I said, it's not mandatory for you to type in the code that I'm typing up here. You may just find it useful. It'll be a lot easier for you once idle is actually installed on these computers, Python. The editor is called idle. So you got a Python programming language. Let's increase the font size. And then you have what's known as an IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment. What does that mean? Without an IDE, you would be doing everything just from a command prompt or a terminal, right? You'd pop open a screen like that, you'd edit a document, and then you'd compile it with a command, and then you'd run it with a command. You know, you'd be kicking it like you were in old school 1970s with a black and green monitor, right? But every programming language has a integrated development environment now. And the one that we will use is known as idle. Why? Because the fan of the creator of this language was a big fan of Monty Python. That's the name. And one of the most prominent members of the Monty Python comedy troupe was Eric Idle. So if you know anything about Python, you may wonder why there isn't another one named Cleese or something like that, right? So anyways, that's what we will be using. Idle comes installed as soon as you install Python. You already have it. Does that mean it's the best? No, there are better ones. You could use Pycharm. Oh, what do you know? I've got Pycharm. But will it actually run? Will it run the code? Probably not. Of course, I confirm that I've read all 75 pages of that.
Just hit exit.
Did I hit exit?
Yeah.
Apparently, I did not confirm that I read all 75 pages of that. Try it again. You're right. Alrighty, so why is Pycharm cooler than idle? Well, it arranges your code in projects, which means that you can have several files as part of the same project. On the other hand, that's kind of a drawback as well, because it means you have to make a project before you can make a file. It's a two-step process rather than a one. And another thing is that the editor is just simply better. It does what's known as syntax highlighting, where certain colors mean certain things, and tries to do autocomplete. So whereas you're typing in the name of a command, you might get PRI, typed in, and it'll offer print. Alrighty, so we're making a new project. I'm just giving this a shot. I'm really not expecting it to work. Failed to get the Python codec of the file system encoding. Yeah, that's why I thought. Python's just flat out not installed on here. Alrighty, hopefully we will get that corrected as fast as possible. In the meantime, I can type my examples in on one of these websites. So that's probably what I will do. Not optimal because the colors are kind of faded, but hey, at least I can make the text big. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work for today. So I don't know if you love or hate Mindtap. A lot of students do not like CEngage Mindtap. I have a huge amount of sympathy for that as somebody who administers it. However, the textbook is a Mindtap textbook. So you're going to want to get it. Our quizzes are posted online there, so you get grades for using it. So it would be to your detriment not to have any access to it. If you have other classes that are also using CEngage, then you're going to want to get CEngage Unlimited. If you've already bought a CEngage textbook, whereas you did not get CEngage Unlimited, there's a way to upgrade to it. And it's just an all-you-can-eat, one price gets you, as many as you want for a semester or two. So it's not a bad deal to go that way if you're going to do that way. And textbooks being as expensive as they are, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and use something electronic. I just don't like reading books through the CEngage interface, honestly. I'd rather have a physical book in my hand, and you can also get that book as well. Yes, sir?
What is the ISBN for that book? Do you know?
Is it not listed?
I didn't see it when I was looking through the syllabus.
Okay, that's sloppy. Let's go get it. Everything should be listed at the Rose Bookstore. So if I just type in Rose State Bookstore on Google, and then look for CIT1113. We'll find it there, and I'll just take a copy of that text that's right there to make it easy. Should not matter which section we're in. There it is. All right. So that ISBN may take you to a very specific version of it. I'll find all the different ISBNs. But let's go ahead and update our syllabus right now with that one, and then as soon as class is over, I'll go and get the rest. Yes, sir.
I have the book, but it says you need to give me like a key or something.
Right. It's going to ask you for a key. You're not actually going to get a key if I do Canvas integration with it. If I do Canvas integration with it, it means that as soon as you're done with the quizzes, your grades get uploaded and posted to Canvas. And each time you take it, it'll update your grade. If I don't do Canvas integration, I need to ask you to take screenshots of it, or I have to go in and check every week to see if you've done it. So I'm planning on doing Canvas integration with it. I'll post the link to it. When you have that link in front of you, you will not need the key. Instead, you'll follow a link from inside Canvas, and it'll tie the two together automatically. And if you haven't purchased Mindtap yet, it'll offer, whip out your credit card and do so right now. So in order to use that link, you're going to want to go ahead, if you bought Cengage Unlimited, get your account up and running to the point where like it's asking for a key, so that if you can log into Canvas, you'll be good to go. If you're having problems with, if you can log into Cengage, then you're good to go. You'll be able to link up to it as soon as I post the link, which I'll do in an announcements, and as one, they'll be listed in the modules. Excuse me.
So you the link to the book, the online version of the book will be sit in Canvas, right?
Right. I'll have that created hopefully by the end of tonight, certainly by Wednesday, so that you'll be able to follow it and access it. This is a good textbook. I don't have any complaints over the textbook. Until recently, they did not have Python in it at all. 8th edition and prior did not have any Python examples in it at all, which made it less than ideal for a course like this. However, the concepts for these things go from language to language. Once you learn one programming language, you're 50% of the way there towards learning another one. And then once you learn a second programming language, preferably one with a different syntax like C++ or Java or JavaScript, those are all kind of related to each other, then you're 90% of the way towards learning a third and a fourth and a fifth. Because all the concepts are the same. You have loops, you have functions, you have if statements, right? You can declare logical structures. All of that is, the concepts apply. So you learn one computer language and then you're already well on your way. Now, a side effect of that is that if you take two similar programming languages, like next semester or whatever, you take both C++ and Java, then they kind of fight a little bit in your brain, but not that much. But since I teach both of them, you'll see me come up here and I'll type the wrong thing in just because I walked out of a Java class, right? Python is different enough that doesn't happen because it looks quite different. The 9th edition does have Python examples. However, it has examples in other programming languages as well. If you want to look at the C++ examples, if you want to go into Mindtap and look at the programming exercises and do those, you absolutely can do that. I'm not going to be assigning programming exercises in any other languages other than Python, right? So, but you can get as much of it as you want to out of it. Alrighty, so if you would be so kind, if you have not already done so, wait, I don't think I posted an announcement asking for you to do this. It's useful for us to be able to maintain contact with each other. By the way, if for some reason I seem to be running a fever or having, coughing fits or sneezing fits or something, I'm just not going to show up. I will post an announcement, and hopefully we will be able to do Zoom, and I will do it on Zoom at that point. I'm not going to come in and get anybody sick. So, with that in mind, please send me a text. Not a test. I don't want a test. Alrighty. So if you'd be so kind, it's just text me at that number, include your name and CIT1113 so I can make a list for us. Right? You don't have to do that. I'll never use your phone number for anything else other than school-related stuff. And, you know, if I know that I can't be in class, I'm going to text everybody and say I can't be in class, tune in on, you know, Zoom, or, you know, look for the video to be uploaded at XYZ time and date. So it is useful. It's useful for you for other reasons as well, and this is a much more common use because hopefully I'm not missing that many classes. If you're stuck programming, can't get it to work, you know, bang your head on the keyboard a little bit, because that's when the best learning comes, is when you're frustrated and you're trying to solve a problem and you solve it by yourself. That's the best learning. But what's the second best? What's the worst? You don't get it figured out, right? So second best is to snap a screenshot of your code, snap a screenshot of the error, and text them, right? How long does that take? It doesn't take you very long to text pictures, right? You know how to do that. So just text them to this phone number and say, help, you know, please help me. I can't get this. And usually I can do it like within 5 minutes, as long as I'm not in class or, you know, otherwise engaged. And if I am, then, you know, as soon as I can get out of that, then I will. And usually I can spot them pretty quickly. That can save a lot of time. You know, back in olden days, you know, your professor would say, okay, email me the code, right? And you'd have to copy the code and email it, and I'd have to download it. And, you know, usually I can visually spot the problems. So texting me is absolutely great. Do not be afraid. You know, do not be reluctant. People will apologize. I'm sorry for contacting you so late. Well, I'm probably up until 3 a.m. anyways. And even if I'm not, I'm smart enough to know how to mute my phone or put it, you know, somewhere where it's not going to wake me up. So go ahead and text me anytime you get into a programming problem. Work on it yourself for a little bit, but by the time you're starting to get a little bit too frustrated with it, you know, don't work for days on a problem that could probably be fixed with a 5-minute exchange of text. That's not a good use of your time. Also, if you're stuck, what is a good resource? Google is a great resource. I need to give you some caveats about that, but over the past 10, 12 years, a site called Stack Overflow has become, you know, the godlike repository of all programming knowledge, because people post questions there and other people post answers there, and then usually they snipe at each other. That question has already been asked, you know, but whatever. It's a great resource. So if I did not know how to do Python open a binary file, I'm going to get examples. I'm going to get examples out, you know, out of my ears. It's totally fine to do that. You're going to do that in the real world, right? It's not like every programmer can realize, remember everything. You know, you get the concepts, you know what a binary file is, and then if you need to actually use one, then you go and you look up the syntax, and where you're going to look it up at, you know, Google. On the other hand, do not copy entire programs out of here, right? Like if I ask you to write a Hangman program, don't go and copy and paste a Hangman program. I'll be able to tell that you did that. I'll be able to find, usually within minutes, the source code for it, and you will fail the assignment, right? So don't do that. Or if I ask you to write a program that'll calculate pi or something like that. If I do something like that, if I ask you to calculate pi or whatever, I will give you the algorithm for doing it, right? Because otherwise, what, you know, you don't know how to calculate pi. Probably, unless you're, you know, a math genius. I'm not. I wouldn't know how to do it off the top of my head. So I will give you a description of the algorithm, and if you're stuck on something, if you can't figure it out, ask me for the equation. It's not a math class, right? This isn't a physics class, it's a chemistry class. So if I ask you to figure out the atomic weight of something based on blah, 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 it's not because I expect you to know chemistry. It's because I expect you to be able to read instructions and use the formulas that I give you. And if you look at those formulas and still can't make any sense out of it, that's fine. Ask me for clarification, right? So in any of these physics problems or math kind of problems or whatever, you don't really have to even understand the concepts in order to write the code and get the right results, right? Because I'll give you the formula. I'll show you some sample input and output. You implement the formula. If you give the input that I show in my instructions and you get the right output, boom, you're done, right? And if you can't, if you're stuck, ask me for help. I'll help you. Because like I said, it's not a chemistry class or whatever, but it's the kind of thing that, not that you're going to be writing that many physics problems, but, you know, maybe you're going to switch careers and you know, start taking physics or chemistry courses and want to write Python stuff to help you with your homework. Totally a legit thing to do. So those are just sample programming problems where I give you a formula, right, and ask you. So for example, what if I want you to write a program that will convert from pounds to kilograms. Well, let's go ahead and write one of those if I can get this Python editor to come back up. So instead of saying print hello world, and like I said, I just got to this by typing in online Python. I got to one. This one took me to program IZ, but it doesn't really matter. They all run about the same. I should have specified Python 3 because if it took you to a Python 2, the languages are very different. A lot of people were upset that the guy made the languages incompatible with each other. On the other hand, that was 15 years ago and everybody has switched to writing Python 3. So, you know, what am I going to do? I'm going to ask the user to enter a weight in pounds. I don't like it wrapping around like that, so I'm just going to kind of abbreviate it, right? That's my output statement, right? Output is just displaying on the screen. Now I need to get the input. LBS equals input like that. Or if you feel like having it display a message on the screen before they type the input, you can put it inside quotes like that. Kind of old-fashioned, right? Put a cursor on the screen telling them where to type it. I could actually have put the entire question inside the text there, but you know, for our first example, I wanted to split the input and the output. You don't have to have anything in there if you want. That looks like an emoji, right? An emoticon, a big nose and eyelashes. I don't know. Okay, but when they type it in, it's not a number. Some languages will translate keyboard keystrokes into numbers automatically. Right now, it's just a string of characters, right? Because I could type in my name. You know, please enter your weight in pounds. I type in Jeff, right? Well, the computer's not going to be able to do anything with that. But even if I type in what I think is a real number to the computer, it's just a sequence of characters, right? Sequence of typewritten characters. It has to be converted to a number. So I'm going to, whoops, what are you doing? Get back over here. You know, alrighty, pounds is equal to float. And by the way, all the code that I type in during these classes, I will upload as notes for each lecture. When we are done today, there will be a folder over here in modules or assignments, and in it, once I'm done, will be a link to the video or an embedded video player, and also all the text of all the notes that I type in. So that's just, you know, save you time. You don't have to write all the notes. Some people like to, but you know, if you're a slow typer and you like typing in all the notes, it'd probably be better to do it by video, right? Because you won't be able to keep up. I try not to type too fast, and if I am typing too fast, slow me down. It does not bother me a bit for you to say, wait, you know, because I've been typing for a long time, so I do type quickly. Alrighty, so where were we? We were writing a program to convert pounds to kilograms. If I was going to do that, if I was going to give you the assignment, it'd be within my rights. That's not right. Here we go. Right. It'd be within my rights to say look up the formula. But usually I'm going to give you the formula, right? Because why waste your time? You know, learning how to look things up on Google is great, but certainly not for, you know, the first assignment or the first 5 assignments I give you. I'm not going to ask you to do that. I'll give you the formula. And so roughly kilograms is equal to pounds divided by 2.2. You can get a lot more precise than that if you want. You type in 1 kilogram in pounds, and Google's happy to convert it for you. So that's the magic number there. That's the conversion. That's a ratio. But I would give you that formula. You could even paste it into it, but you know. So our exercise today, this isn't homework, you're not going to have to actually get it up and running, but if I did, you know, write a program that will ask the user to convert pounds to kilograms. The formula is kg is equal to pounds divided by that, right? That's what the homework assignment would look like. Let's do that. that's disturbing, but whatever. Alrighty, so go back over to our assignment. Alrighty, so pounds is equal to float pounds. Both of these are what are known as functions. They're built into the language. So they're called built-in functions. At least according to one textbook I said you can abbreviate that to BIF. No, I'm not going to call these BIFs. But these are functions, right? This one waits for the user to type in something and hit enter, and it returns it so that it can be stored in what's known as a variable. A variable is just a place in memory to hold a value, right? Every number that a computer has, that it's supposed to process has to be stored in RAM so that it can be processed. Just like if it's going to play an MP3, that has to be loaded into RAM, if it's going to, whatever, display a picture. So a small variable will be created that has the name LBS. And usually I don't like using lowercase l in my variable names because it looks like 1 and you might be tempted to type in 1BS. So I'm going to make a correction here and say pounds is equal to input. Now I'm going to deliberately make a syntax error, which is that I'm going to leave this one as LBS. This is an error because I stored my data in a variable named pounds. I have no variable named LBS. It's like, I tell you to go buy a blue Toyota, and then my next instruction says, please drive the red Ford. Well, you can't do that. I told you to get a blue Toyota. I told it to store a variable pounds, and then I don't have that variable. So that's going to be a syntax error. It's not going to work. All right, so now that this is converted to a number, right? Convert input to number. We're going to be doing this an awful lot. We're going to be taking our input, and every time we need it into a number, we're going to be converting it. So just get used to the fact that we're going to have 2 statements in a row. Pretty much every time you ask for input, if it's not like a name or, something that's not numeric. If it is going to be numeric because you want to do math with it, it has to be in this sequence, right? Input and float. There's a way to shorten that to do it in one command, but we're doing it 2 by 2. I mean, we're doing each step separately at this point. All right, now we need to use the formula. Kilograms, and you get to make up these variable names unless I specify them, right? I could type in kilos if I want, is equal to pounds divided by 2 point, whatever that number was. 2.20462. I've calculated it, but that's not very useful. Let me show you what happens when I run it and there's a syntax error. And a syntax error is just when you make a typo or you use a variable that wasn't created or a function that hasn't been created. So it's going to complain. It's going to display a message over here. Or not. This may not be the best editor. I may copy and paste this into a different one. Let's do that. Oh wait, finally ran. All right. Please enter the weight in pounds. Ooh, look at that. It's running over and over and over. Patience is a virtue. Once more. All right. So, 1,000 pounds. Boom, it blew up. It said trace back. Error in line 6. The error is that this variable, it's calling it a name, LBS is not defined. And I come over here and I look and what's wrong with that? Oh, my variable is called pounds, so I better correct that. Accept the fact, please, that this comment, well, I guess I could put this comment above it. This little editor is very narrow, so it's spacing things like that. Whereas if you were using a full screen editor and you made it look like that, it would call that an error, right? Because this is on the next line. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to use what's known as white space in comments, right? So, ask user for input. That's what we're doing there, right? Convert to numeric value. By the way, there's another kind of, another kind of number. Floating point is a number that supports decimal points, decimal places, which is reasonable. But there are also numbers that are whole numbers only. going to rarely use those, so I'm going to be using float. But if I wanted whole numbers only, I would type in int. But I don't. I wanted to say float so that they can type in a decimal point. Normally, if you ask somebody their age, they'll type in a whole number. But what if they type in 55.5 because they're, you know, really precise? All right. So we've asked the user for input. This statement is in the wrong place, right? And so why don't we just take those comments out, and that's what it looks like, right? Ask the user for input, we print a message, and then we let them type it in. We convert the input to a number. I need to fix that syntax error. I'm going to make it say pounds equals float pounds. Then I'm going to do the math, right? Conversion from pounds to kilograms, right? And then I need to display the result. Because if I run it and I don't display the result, I really chose the wrong editor. I'll give y'all a recommendation for an editor.
You can go to tutorialspoint.com.
Yeah.
That's pulled up for me.
Yeah, let's do that. Alrighty. Python 3 tutorials point. Okay. Also repl.it, R-E-P-I. Okay. Alrighty. I'm not real fond of the fact that the comments are in blue, but hopefully you can read those. Alrighty. So if it runs, which it should,
Execute.
where's the button? There we go. It turns for a while and it says EOF when reading a file. That's interesting. I'm not spotting why it did that yet.
Line 8.
Yeah, you're right, but why? Get rid of that. You're gonna make me type all this in again? I'm having more problems than I usually do because usually I use the official editor. Something happened in the copy paste and I don't know what. Step by step. All right, I ran it with nothing in it except the comments. The comments are the things that begin with the hash symbols, pound signs. And now let's print enter pounds. Test that. I'm testing it line by line to try to narrow the problem down. Let's get our input. Pounds equals input. That was the line that was crashing previously. You're crazy. Can you say it's working for you? Okay, I'm going to try repl it. There it is, the green run button. All right, and that one's working. Okay, so please enter weight in pounds, 1,000. Great. I didn't display any results. The user doesn't know. Now, if they happen to know the underlying code, they know that they could probably type kilos and get the answer, but we're not going to rely upon them knowing our variable names. So we need to print the result out. So print parentheses quote, that is end quote, comma, kilos, comma, quote, kilograms. I'm going to rewrite this to be what I consider a cleaner format, but I first want to make sure that it works. 1,000. All right. It says 453.592, blah, 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 right? Okay, maybe that's too many decimals. I could round it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to round it down to like 2 places. So I'm going to insert a line above my print statement to round it. Kilos, and by the way, you're not supposed to walk out of here having memorized everything I did, right? This is just to demonstrate. Okay, so I'm going to round the value of kilos to 2 decimal places. So kilos equals round parentheses, kilos comma 2 in parentheses. Put a comment here, round to 2 decimal places, and then print the results. Sometimes when I'm typing this in, I space it out a little bit to make it easier to read. You don't have to. Spacing is usually not important, right? So, but you can. You can space things out, and sometimes I do. It's called adding white space. Try to make it easier to read. Just like adding paragraph breaks between paragraphs, you know, space can make a paper easier to read. All right. Now this ought to work. All right. REPL.it, REPL.it looks like a good one because you can sign up, and I think that means that once you do, then your files will be stored there and you can come back and reload them. But I would not trust that. I would still copy my files to a local drive. When you're done with your code, I want you to upload it as well as take a screenshot. And those instructions will be made very clear in the instructions. All right, so enter the weight in pounds, 1,000. That is 453.59 kilograms. That looks better. All right, but like I said, I'm going to change this a little bit to what is, I think, is an easier way of reading it. However, it's not shown in the textbook. You can use the stuff that's shown in the textbook or the PowerPoints, or you can use this. This was created like in a subsequent version of Python, like 3.5 or something like that. So we can take care of it. We can take advantage of it, but we don't have to. Let me just rewrite the whole thing rather than editing. Print parentheses F quote. And usually when I type a quote, the next thing I do is to type the closing quote as well, so I don't, whoopsie, that's dumb. So I don't forget to do that. So now I have a pair of double quotes. What the F means is that this is a formatted print. What does that mean? It means that I can put the variable names right inside the double quotes. Otherwise, usually you do not, right? So that is curly brace. It's not a parentheses, it's a curly brace. You know, the shift of the square brace underneath the minus key next to the P key on your keyboard. And then you put the variable name right inside curly braces like that. And when it prints it, it will substitute this placeholder with the actual number that's stored in the variable. Kilograms, end quote, in parentheses, right? This saved me some time because I didn't have to keep adding parentheses and commas and stuff like that. I think that's easier for students to read and to immediately get productive with. So that's why I use that. But earlier versions of Python did not support that. So it's possible that if you took a job and they're using an old version of Python, they're not supposed to. But, right, you're supposed to stay up on relatively recent versions. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and run it one more time, just to glory in the results. All right, please enter weight, 200 pounds. That is 90.72 kilograms. And that is a finished program, right? Almost. You're going to want to scroll up to the top and put your name and stuff on it, right? This is called a comment block, right? So Jeff Thompson, CIT1113, and then I'm going to describe the program, right? Weight conversion. I guess it's mass conversion if we want to get all technical. Because things can weigh different. Like if you're on the moon, your weight is less than it is on the Earth, but your mass is the same. All right. And then I could type in more of an explanation if I wanted. Some people even just copy and paste the program description, you know, the instructions, paste, copy, paste, whatever. All right, so there's my program. If you're trying to get this to run, and you're not getting it to run, and you want me to come look at your screen, wave your hand, I'll mask up and come back there. We doing okay? All right, then come look. I try to pause the recordings when I do this, but sometimes I forget to unpause. All right, so having had more problems using online Python editors, we're going to start recommending this one. You find this one under modules. Click on modules, and then it's under class information right there, online Python editor. All right, so I'll bring the code back up so you can eyeball it one more time. There we go. This is a comment block. I want you to add one to the top of every program you write. I'm not going to count off at the beginning of class, you know, for not doing that, but eventually it's going to become a requirement, you know, and I'll give you only partial credit. Speaking of grades, we need to get back to the syllabus, but I'll say right now that in almost every circumstance, if you do not get full credit for a program, then if you edit it, revise it, and resubmit it, you'll get more credit for it, right? Just like in a real job, you write a program, you show it to the customer, and they say, no, I really want the text to be blue rather than orange. You go and you make the text blue rather than orange, and you show it to them again, right? And then you get paid for your work or whatever, right? I don't believe in just making you get it right the first time. So even if your program doesn't work, go ahead and upload it just to prove that you were working on it. However, you're certainly not going to get a lot of credit for something that flat out doesn't work. What does flat out doesn't work mean? Well, remember when I had that syntax error? It crashes, right? If the program crashes when I type in good input, then you're not going to get a lot of credit for it. There are even worse syntax errors. At least this one started, right? But what if I forgot my closing quote there? That's a common problem, right? You type in keys in our weight in pounds, but you forget the closing quote, or you forget the closing parentheses. When I run it, boom, it doesn't run at all, right? So you're going to get almost no credit for it. Well, bummer. No, it's not a bummer. I'll post program didn't compile. I may even give you the reason why, you know, and then you're going to revise it and you're going to resubmit it. Now, that's one reason that you're going to be submitting screenshots with your code, is just to show that it actually worked, right? Because if it worked when you were running it and it doesn't work when I run it, then you know, it's really worthy of deep investigation. So you will be doing that. Let's get back to the syllabus. All right, there's our textbook. We may also use this one. You know, 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, before we settled on a textbook and we were using a different one every semester, I started just using this one instead, not requiring the students to buy a textbook at all. You know, it's just an online one, and it's pretty good. But, you know, we settled upon a standard for the entire, you know, division to use, and so we use it. But I may dip back into this one. Why is this one cool? It's Python specific. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to this one and working yourself on it, right? You could get way ahead of where the rest of the class is by just going to this website and working through the examples in it. Like there's a, you know, chapter called Hello Little Turtles. Not hard to do. You copy and you paste it and you run it and you get a result, right? And you copy and you paste it and you run it, you get a result. Now you don't learn as much by copying and pasting, right? But anyways, you know, you can learn a lot of Python by using that website, even without, you know, explanation from me. All right, so our goals. Understand fundamental concepts and general principles of programming, such as loops, decision statements, and input and output. Understand and create flowcharts in pseudocode. Now, flowcharts, a lot of students get tired of drawing flowcharts, but we'll do them once in a while, right? It's not going to be like the primary thing of the class, unlike the versions of class where this is all that you do, number 2 is all that you do. And what is pseudocode? Pseudocode just looks like a programming language, but it's not specific to any syntax. So if I wanted pseudocode for this program right here, you know, I could just say, you know, a rough form of it would be ask user for pounds, you know, and then kilograms is equal to pounds, you know, divided by 2.2, and then output kilograms. That's pseudocode. That's the most primitive form. Now, the book's going to teach us to be a little bit pickier, right? And they may want us to, you know, use, you know, more specific terms. Ask user for input, you know, and then, you know, output a message. It looks like a programming language. And instead of doing that, we could just say input pounds. Now, it messes with people's brains that we're typing in something here, and then if they went into Python, that it wouldn't work. Pseudocode means not a real programming language. You know what pseudo means? It means kind of like, or it means fake, right? So this is not a real programming language. What is it? It's just something that describes logic. And why in the world would you do that? Because I could give you pseudocode and you could implement this in whatever your programming language of choice is. I would not want to write something in Java and then say, okay, write this, you know, in C++ or C# or whatever, because the syntax for those two languages could be dramatically different. So it's better to be kind of generic. Every programmer knows how to write an input statement in their programming language of choice. They know how to do an input. They know how to do this. You know, some textbooks will show pseudocode is looking like that, or you know, some textbooks want that. We're not real picky about it because it's not a real programming language. You have to look at this and convert this in your head to Python. If I give you pseudocode, right? I could give you pseudocode and ask you to turn it into a Python program. It's, you know, a valid assignment. Or I could ask you to write the pseudocode to convert, you know, from miles to kilometers or whatever, in which case it would look very similar to this, wouldn't it? All right, let's get back to it. This is an example of pseudocode for the note's sake. And then let's go ahead and put the code that I actually wrote, actual Python programming code, right? Or source code, it's another term for it. Go and get that. Copy and paste it in there, right? It'll be in our notes for future reference. All right, let's get back. And then write and run Python script programs that perform tasks demonstrating the concepts of programming. So we use Canvas. Everything we do will be in Canvas. All your uploads will be, with the exception of blipping over into Mindtap, right? From Mindtap, you can look at the PowerPoint slides online, and you can take quizzes, and you can do programming assignments. The quizzes, which they call exams in this, for this textbook, which is a little bit harsh of a term, right? Exam, oh no. It's just a quiz, and the quizzes you can take as many times as you want to get as high a score as you want. They're multiple choice, so they're not super duper hard. If you haven't read the chapter or attended class or looked at a PowerPoint, you're not going to get them all right, right? And so just take it again, raise your score. Take it again, raise your score. And then when you're satisfied with your score, you're all done. Canvas should be, you know, updated automatically. The grading scale is pretty boring. Oh, I don't list it. Well, here, oh yeah, I do. 90% is an A, 80% is a B, 70 is a C, and so on, right? Now, it could be that if you get like an 89.5, I'm going to round it up, right? I'm not a big jerk. I'm not going to, you know, if you're within a point of 90, I'll probably round it up. But rarely do I need to curve. And like, unless there's something really weird going on, like COVID in the spring, and classes have gotten totally chaotic, then yeah, I can make it, you know, I can make those different. But normally that's the scale. All right. In-class lectures are worth a third of your grade. What does that mean? That means that at the end of class, when I create the Dropbox, you're just going to upload any notes that you took, or you're going to upload a file saying that, you know, you attended lecture or whatever. For the students who are not actually physically in the classroom, I'm going to want you all to fill out a lecture review form saying what you learned. Just write a few sentences. I'll point you to that. For the first day, I just want you to, you know, type in you were here. And if you feel like you uploaded anything else, that you want to upload anything else, that's fine. So homework. Homework is the stuff that we don't do in class. Generally, you have a week to do your homework. Like if I assign you homework today, it would be due Monday of next week, Monday evening, Monday midnight, right? And again, I'm probably not going to, you know, count off if you're a day late on it. But in case you need to ask questions over it. And then exams. We should have 2 exams, a midterm and a final. Don't panic over exams. If you have test anxiety, see if you can lower that test anxiety by knowing that it's open book. You can go to Cengage and look things up. It's open PowerPoint. It's open all your notes that you've ever taken. It's open any notes that I've ever uploaded. It's open asking your professor for help, right? So people usually do pretty well on the exams. The vast majority of the class is going to pass the exams, and a large number of you is going to make A's on them. So I think I said a bad English sentence there. And so anyways, a third for each of those, you know, effectively 33% for each of those is going to be the average of your code, of your score. So students who are caught plagiarizing or cheating will get an F. And the record of the incident will be provided to the dean of the School of Business. Now, how can you cheat? Well, you could call each other up and, you know, work on the quiz together, right? That's not going to work too well because the questions are in random order and stuff like that. But, you know, more likely is that students are going to want to copy their, you know, their programming assignments. And here's what to watch out for. You know, I am stuck and I say, oh man, can I look at your code? You know, I just can't figure out how to do the, oh, could you just email it to me? You know, so I can figure out what I did wrong. I haven't even started, right? I take your code and I upload it. And then your professor comes down on you hard and both people get in trouble. So don't give your code to anybody else. Sure, if somebody wants to look over your shoulder so that they see how, you know, to do an input statement or whatever, yeah, that's fine. But don't provide people with your source code. Also, like I said already, don't Google up, you know, a program request, right, a homework assignment and upload an entire program, right? If you're quoting from the internet, it should only be a couple of lines of code, right? You needed to figure out how to do an input and a conversion. Okay, sure, great. Go to Google and figure out how to do that, but don't copy and paste entire programs. Every assignment turned in must include both a screenshot and the programming file, you know, and if you only turn in one, I may ask you for the other one and give you partial credit, whatever. Just turn around and do that and you'll get full credit for it. You need the Python 3 language, which we can get online. We're going to need a flow charting program. You can use Lucidchart or you can use the one that comes with Office. We're going to have to end this pretty soon. I'm going to need to rush through the syllabus, which I really shouldn't, but on the other hand, we all know how to read. Every class will have a discussion and tutorial section, so I'm probably going to be typing in code every time we meet, unless it's an exam or whatever. The reason I do that is to try to keep you engaged so that you're not sitting there, you know, doing Facebook on your phone or whatever. Hopefully you're watching the screen. Hopefully you're typing along, right? But you don't have to. You know, I've had students who, you know, only have the use of one arm and they find it very difficult to type. I'm not going to count you off if you don't type in during the class. Course policies. You're responsible for attending the class. You need to have access to a computer to do your homework. There are computers on campus, obviously, so if you don't have a computer at home. Python is a very low requirement program. It doesn't use a lot of space. So don't worry that you're not going to be able to install it. You can put it on Mac or Linux or, you know, on your PC, or you can do the assignments online. You need to read and use the required text and handouts. Not that there are any handouts, right? But I can upload PDFs. Keeping up with the schedule and getting assignments in on time. If you start falling behind, talk to me about it. Don't wait until 2 weeks before the end of the semester and then hope to catch up, right? Certainly not if you haven't been talking to me about it. You need to take the exams and complete the projects. We don't have projects in particular in this class. If you want an outside programming project, I could probably come up with some. One thing that y'all might want to look at after you've gone through this a little bit is to look at Pygame. Pygame is a library for creating games, and you can find examples of space shoot 'em ups and Mario type games and stuff like that, so it can be fun to play with. I better give you course content and give you a course schedule. The course schedule is going to be driven through Canvas. You look at the list of assignments and they all have due dates, except the quizzes. Providing support as needed and providing content demonstrations. Late penalties. If it's more than 1 week late, it's 50% off. If it's more than 2 weeks late, it's 100% off. Now, if you talk to me about why it's late, I may waive that, right? Projects must be, well, we don't have projects. Institutional grading, you need to go and look at this student handbook just to know where it is. It's 120 pages long, so I'm not expecting you to read the student handbook, but it's good to go and eyeball it and go, okay, I know where that is. Academic integrity, I've already talked about it. Please don't do plagiarism. Cheating on exams, how do you cheat on an exam? You open up Google Mail in a window, right, and you start, talking to each other or asking somebody who's not in the class, right? Don't do that. Please don't do that. I've had to fail students for doing that on exams. I don't know why they got the idea that doing that would be a good idea. And I could sit at the back of the classroom and try to monitor everybody, but I like to trust people. So I don't do much of that wandering around looking at everybody's screen. And the syllabus addendum. Used to be that we had like 4 extra pages for every syllabus. That was just a copy and paste. So instead, the campus came up with this one. So facial covering mask requirement, Rose State College mission, please don't do plagiarism. There's some good stuff in here. Accessibility and accommodations, if you need help of whatever kind, you can talk to these folks and they'll help you fill out a form that you give to me, with your special needs. And if you just talk to me about it to begin with, I'm sure that I'd agree to it even without a form. If you are under stress, and who isn't nowadays, then if you're having stuff that's impacting your life or negatively impacting your performance in school or whatever, you can talk to the counseling services. So what's cool is that they're free. What's even cooler is that they're actually really good. So it's good to talk to these folks. If you do not attend class the first week or the first 2 weeks for a 16-week class, you will be dropped with an AW. And that's to prevent people from doing the old trick of getting a grant or a loan to go to campus and then, go to school and then just skip out, right? And if you do that, then whoever gave you the money is going to come back and look, and take it back from you. We do have email. If you do not know that, you have an email address, which I believe is probably your first name and your last name at raider.rose.edu. You can get to it just by using Gmail. I'm not going to be expecting you to monitor your email much, but I think the announcements I post probably hopefully get forwarded to email. So you might install it on, get that address on your phone so that you get those notifications. The LRC, it's just a library. It's useful. If you cannot take a test in class, then you can take it at the LRC, or I will probably set up time in the evenings so that we can do a Zoom taking of it, right? If we do not get Zoom up and running here so that you can take it via, while you're on the computer at home at a specified time so I could proctor you. But if you can't do that, if you can't do it either way, then you'd need to go and take it online. Or lastly, you could sign up for a service called ProctorU. The Career Center offers career exploration, career planning, etc. All right, so that's the revised in, okay, I was about to say revised in 06. I thought that meant 2006. I was going to be puzzled. All right, so let's wrap class up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Dropbox, and you can type in just, I was here, or you can upload any source code that you did. Usually ask for a screenshot the first day.
But it's source code on its own.
Pardon me?
So the code I just did, it deleted it itself.
Okay.
So I'll just put on here. I was here.
Yeah. So let me make the folder for us. Usually I would just be copying these from another one, so. Now I do put due dates on these daily assignment things, but it doesn't mean you're going to get counted off for not, attending class that day, or if you're watching it remotely. It's okay if you watch it tomorrow rather than today. The date is just to associate, and so that they show up in the list of due assignments. Homework I do expect to be done. But I differentiate homework and lectures by letters and numbers. If it has a letter, it's a lecture. If it has a number, it'll say homework 10, homework 5, whatever. Okay, so there's going to be a Dropbox there. Hopefully you can log into Canvas. If you can't, you're going to have to talk to whoever supports, campus logins. So what am I going to do? Let me slip into student mode so I can show you in case you haven't used this before. To get to Canvas, I just typed in canvas.rose.edu. The first time you access it, you'll have to do a reset password and put in your information there, and it'll send it to you. So let's see, where is, all right. So you can get to that by going to modules and scrolling to week 1 or clicking assignments. I'm not seeing the student mode emulator. Where is that? Maybe it's on home. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to click on modules or assignments, scroll down to week 1, click it. I'm going to click submit assignment. If you wanted to upload something, you could choose file and upload it. Just today, you can go over to text entry and say, awesome class, bro. Or, yeah, I'm kidding.
Awesome class, bro.
I was here, right? I attended, whatever. And then click submit assignment, and you're going to get a, 100%. You're going to get 100% credit for typing in something and submitting it. Just don't type anything rude. You're lame. That would hurt my feelings. You'd still probably get full credit for it, but it would hurt my feelings. All right. So we're done for the day. Are there any questions? Any questions? By the next class period, if not by tomorrow, we'll have the link posted into Canvas that you'll follow to get to the textbook. Right. Again, it's not a key that you enter, it's a link in Canvas, and that's so that they can be tightly integrated in the grades from Mindtap, go directly into our grade book here. All righty. I'm psyched, I hope you are. Some people say I was really terrified of the class, and you made it fun, but that's my goal. Programming is supposed to be fun as well as,
This
useful.
was easier than the other programming class I took.
Oh yeah?